It's a demonstration of what God can do in our world today. But I want you to notice that there are certain parties that are pretty evident here. One party is the man who is possessed by demons. Single person. In fact, the book of Mark records that there are actually two individuals who are there. Probably one of them was so demon-possessed that it became the focus of the other two gospel writers, the book of Matthew and the book of Luke over here. There were two individuals, one of whom was dominant and the other was tagging along, but they were both dangerous individuals. The book of Mark tells us that the two of them were in the tombs to the point where the people were so afraid they could not even go near the place. That is one party. The second party was a group of herdsmen who were nearby. These were looking after pigs. And you think to yourself, pigs and Jews, do they mix? So most of you know they don't. Even today, our Jewish friends do not eat pork. And why is it that there would be pigs that are looked after in the land of Palestine? The answer is where they were. They were in a place called let's get the name right as he puts his, Gerasenes. Gerasenes is also known as Gerada in the book of Matthew. Same place. Gerasenes is actually an area outside a city called Gerada. And Gerada is a city that's one of the big centers of Roman culture in Palestine. It is on the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. On the western side is where Capernaum, Galilee, and all that is. On the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee is this group of 10 cities that were ruled by the Romans that were consistently Greek. And those are the places which we call the Decapolis, the place of the 10 cities. Gerada is the northern part of that place of the Decapolis, the northernmost of the 10 cities, and practically one of the most prosperous and one of the most powerful of all the 10 cities. Gerada is actually called Gerada because it means the place where those who fight and those who journey end up. That's what it means, the place of those who fight and those who journey. Gerada was a place of immigrants and refugees, people who had no place else to go, and they would go there, and they were resourceful people. They were intelligent people. They landed in Gerada, northern part of Palestine, and they became people who were rich and powerful. In fact, more powerful than the other 9 cities in the Decapolis. Gerada describes many of us. We have come to this place, this city called Toronto, in a land called Canada. We came, many of us, without much education, without much financial resources. We started up small. We rented an apartment, maybe even stayed in the basement. We tried to get ourselves educated. We tried to get jobs, and the Lord has blessed. And over time, we have prospered. And so in the days of Jesus, Gerada was such a place. Was a place with a lot of affluence. And yet at the same time, the second group of people, the first of those is this man who was demon-possessed, or the two men amongst the tombs. And the second group was in Gerada. They were people who were self-made. They thought to themselves, nothing can touch us. Nothing can influence us. We are the captains of our own soul. We do what we wish. But the problem is that this group of people understood there were things that were beyond their control. And so when we focus on the second group of people, we realize that we live in the power of a broken world. The power of Geradas was money, affluence, the ability to go on holiday whenever we wished, the ability to throw a party whenever we liked, to call the people around, to be able to influence them and be influenced by them. That's Gerada. But there's another type of power that's beyond that kind of power, and that's from the first group, and that is the two men in the tombs, or the single person in the tombs. This individual was so powerful that this group of people who felt themselves so influential could not deal with them. In fact, it says that this particular person who was at the tombs did something that was even as daring as trying to challenge who Jesus was. Now you think to yourself, why is it that Jesus encountered this person from Gerada, from Gerasenes? Why so? Two things. It was his purpose to be there. He crossed over from Capernaum into Gerada in order to meet this person. But the second thing that happened was that this guy, or the two guys who were in it, recognized that it was Jesus. And the first thing they did was to run up to him. That's there. There he met him a man from the city who had demons. It's not very clear in the translation of the English, because here in this particular word met is a Greek word that's not very commonly used. It's not like, I'm going to the mall and I met you in the mall. Oh, didn't recognize that you when I first saw you. How are you doing? Not that kind of met. The word met there is a very specific Greek word that is used in the military sense. In other words, an enemy comes into your territory and you gather your forces together and you meet him in battle. That's the word met. In other words, they were sauntering up to him as big as he could be and as powerful as he was. They were coming up to challenge who Jesus was. And so there's a third party in this mix. Jesus. Jesus and his disciples. The demoniac, the people of Gerada, Gerasenes, and Jesus. And you find that the power of the broken world constantly meets the power of Jesus head to head. As we come into 2020, the focus of this year is this: to call us to a greater desire for Jesus Christ, to call us into a deeper life in him. It is only out of the deeper life that can come everything else. It is because God calls us to a deeper relationship with him that we are able to exercise discipline. Why is it that people make promises to themselves that they need to lose weight? Why? Because they want a thinner body. Why is it that they want to eat better? It's because they need a better heart. They need a better blood system so that they won't be suffering from all these blood diseases. They need to be able to be stronger so they'll be able to walk, because otherwise it's a physiotherapist all the time that you're visiting. We have certain desires that drive us to resolutions. There are certain desires that are far greater than what we do each day. Do we want to watch television? Do we want to play a game on the computer? Do we want to eat something that we are not supposed to? All these things are desires that go contrary to the desire for God, for the desire for good things. And so when we do things like exercise or eat better and so on, it's because we desire for better things. The problem is the desires for these things are not strong enough. And as a result, through the entire year, or even through the month of January, for some of us, failure to begin with, right? How much do you pay for a gym membership every year? And then how many times do you go? It becomes more and more expensive the less and less time you go, right? And that's how they make the money. They always oversubscribe by 500% because they know that by January, everybody leaves. By February, half the people leave. By January, most of the people are not there. So February, they oversubscribe like crazy because they can predict that people's desire for better things is never as great as the desire for terrible things. And so for us as believers in Jesus Christ, the call for us is to desire Christ more than anything else, to desire him far greater things. And for these two groups of people, before we talk about Jesus, the desire for greater things is always the desire that will swallow them up, that will destroy them. What made this man from Gerasenes a demoniac? How did he come to the place where he was possessed by one whole legion of demons? Not just one, not just two, but a whole legion of them. The Bible does not reveal to us how that happens, but I can guess. The likelihood is he started with something small. He wanted something, and therefore he prayed to the wrong gods. He asked the wrong spirits. He visited the wrong mediums. He wanted something to be able to guide him into the future, so he made promises towards them. He engaged in something that became more and more captivating to him. And so it began that he opened up vistas whereby Satan was able to enter him. His moods were uncontrolled. The Bible tells us that anger is one of the major ways in which Satan invades a person's life. When you are angry, he takes opportunity. And the word in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 27, that Paul reveals for us is that when anger occurs, the word opportunity is room. He cracks open a room, a foothold in your life. And Paul says, we know Satan's advantage that he takes from you when you cannot forgive and when you are angry. So I'm sure for this man who was possessed with the demon of legions, anger perhaps was in there somewhere. Alcohol, getting drunk. Do not be drunk with wine, but rather be filled with the Holy Spirit, Paul responds to the church of Ephesians. Why? Because things that make you lose control of your mind give Satan a foothold in where you are. Engaging in things such as giving up your consciousness or giving of your future to someone else, listening to a fortune teller. Those kinds of things, the Old Testament says, it opens up a way for Satan to come on into your life. I don't know exactly what footprints this person had left in his life so as to become a person possessed with not one demon, not two demons, but a legion of demons. The word legion, by the way, is a Roman word. Remember, this is a Roman territory. A legion is 1,000 soldiers. When he calls himself legion, he's saying, I have inside of me, inside of this person, 1,000 demons who reside there. And the word legion is a military term. In other words, this group of demons which is within this individual is organized and is powerful. They work together. They are not in pandemonium. And so what we see is not only one person, but a whole bunch of individuals within this one person who has taken hold. Why? Because he has not desired for the things that God calls him to. And he has become extremely powerful. In fact, in this particular place, in this particular verses, it says, this man was impervious to the weather. He had not worn clothes all his time. There was no shame, there was no embarrassment. He went back to an avatar state. He was an individual who didn't care about anyone. Who cares about what you think about me? Is what his words are. He would be standing around in the tombs, he's breaking chains. Now, I'm going to give you, he never lived in a house, so he was not only homeless, but he didn't need a home, and he lived among the tombs. In the brackets of verse 29, if you look in your Bible, it actually describes who he is. The first part, that's why the brackets are there, is because when he confronted Jesus, Jesus rebuked the demon. And it began crying out to him because it knew it was in a bad spot. Then in the brackets, it describes a little bit more about this demoniac that we have some more information about. It says that for many a time it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds, and be driven by the demon into the desert place. Something else about this demoniac and the place in which he lived, Gerasenes. And that is the people of Gerasenes suffered with this guy for a long period of time. It wasn't because Jesus was present that the demon decided, I'm going to get into this person and attack Jesus. He had been there all this time. The people who were affluent, the people who thought they had owned 1,000 hills and 1,000 cattle, many houses. They looked at this guy and they say, there's a power here that we cannot control. So what did they do? They tried to control him by human means. They bound him with chains. They put shackles on him. And just to give you the idea of the differences, the shackles is the thing that you clasp around your hand. The chains, of course, are the things that are connected with it. And so the book of Mark and the book of Matthew actually records that not only did he break the chains, he tore the shackles into many pieces. This guy was uncontrollable. He had power beyond our imagination. Some of you may have actually come across demoniacs. Have you? Anyone come across people who are possessed by demons? When I was back home in Singapore, I came across several individuals who were possessed by demons. One person was a young lady who was able to throw a table across the room. And she was no more than Hannah's age, 12 years old, 13, taking a table and throwing it right across the room, and the thing was made of steel. And when we walked in, there were 5 of us, and one of us was a young woman who was unfaithful to her boyfriend, sleeping with another guy. Yet she came to church. And this girl looked at her and it says, "Dare you come to me, you who sleep with other men?" That's this guy who was able, this girl who was able to see into the future, or see into the secret places of this young woman who walked in the home. There are people who are possessed by demons who will do all kinds of different things that are beyond your imagination. But it's not the physical, it is not the present or the mortal, it's the supernatural. For those of us who have encountered people who are atheists, who says, "I don't believe in God," the very same people will run away from a demon because they know the power of a demon. They will respect the power of a demon, but they will not respect the power of God. Why? Because the power of God is not of war, but of peace. We prayed that just now. And because the power of God in Jesus Christ is a grace to save until the last day when Jesus comes, and when he comes, that he will deal with all evil by the power of his hand, the destruction of them, and the final destruction of them in the lake of fire. But here in this particular passage, this individual was more powerful than the individuals who thought themselves powerful in the ways of this world. They were unable to control him. I want you to notice, though, what happens with this guy. You think, so they chain him, they put shackles on him, poor guy, he doesn't have any freedom. Maybe the demon was trying to set him free. Would you try to interpret that? When this guy broke his chains and broke his shackles, where did he go? He went into the desert. In other words, he went into a place of even worse isolation. You don't have to put him in a prison. He put himself in a place of incredible desolation. And there in that place of desolation, he cries out. I want you to take a step backwards a little bit, because I said to you the first party was the party of this individual or the individuals amongst the tombs. The person in whom the demons live still know who he is. The persons in whom a demon lives still recognizes his sense of identity. Sometimes, until the demon becomes strong within him or her, and then the demon subsides. And we read this in the next few passages of Scripture that this particular passage reveals to us. And I want us to pause for just a little bit and ask ourselves, to which of these powers of this world are we attracted? What do we spend our time in? How much energy do we spend making friends in high places whom we think will bring us to places that are of great comfort? How much time do we spend on our work that will give us financial resources? And how much time do we neglect? Do we take away from God because we don't have the metrics for it, we don't have the good measures for it? That we take away from the things of spiritual life in order to invest in the things that we have better metrics for. And that is how much money we earn, how many houses we have, how much vacation we get. All those are better metrics than we have about the things of God. How often do we actually devote ourselves to the things that Satan calls us into? And then, for the sake of our comfort, because the world tortures us, we go to various things that will help us to run away from the things of this world. The alcohol, the fortune tellers, the various places of peace that we think we can vacate and go away and enjoy ourselves at parties. And so Satan controls both the things of this world as well as the things of demonic spirits that begin to draw us into places of our wilderness, of our own deserts. You think you break your chains, but you are running into a desert place. You think that you have to get away from all these stresses, but you run into places in which Satan has rule over you. You're in the tombs, as it were, carving your own flesh with stones because you can't stand the world anymore. How many of us are attracted to the power of a broken world? Because I'll tell you that I've met so many individuals and I've slipped into them myself in so many different times that the call of this world is so strong that you need to say no to it on a constant basis. To leave those things behind and pursue those things which are of God. And to say to God, God, I am weak, but you are strong. Jesus, keep me from all wrong. I want for us to, through 2020, to be able to see these two forces at work in our world, that which is seen and that which is unseen, and to be never attracted to the desires of a broken world, but to be attracted to the things of God. Because there's a struggle at hand. And the second point that I want to make as we observe this passage is there's a struggle for our heart and for our minds. I want you to notice how it is that when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell before Jesus and said with a loud voice, what have you to do with, I read it in the wrong way, by the way, which is what I want to point out to you. Let's just say it again. And let me read it properly, okay? What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? In fact, what I just read incorrectly was a word which I want you to pay attention to. He did not say, what have I to do with you? Notice that? But what have you to do with me? A lot of the times, it's Jesus who comes seeking us out. And when he seeks us out, we have to deal with him. We push him away. There are some people who refuse to come to church. Why? Because they might feel convicted. There are some people who will tell you to stop talking about Jesus, to stop praying, to stop reading the Bible in front of them. Why? Because they might feel convicted. Because the Spirit of God might work in their lives. They will push away the things of God. They will shout very loudly. They will say foul language to get you away from the things of God, because it's the same words as Satan. The same words as Legion. What have you to do with me, Son of the Most High? And the struggle is there. The struggle is for our hearts and for our minds, to draw you away from the things of God and into the things of the world so we don't see who he is. In this particular passage, the question that is asked is not of the demon, but by the man. What have you to do with me, Son of the Most High? And I beg you, do not torment me. Now, how do I know it was a man speaking rather than a legion speaking? Because of the word beg. You see, when Jesus talked to these demons come out of him, the man cried out, what have you to do with me, Son of the Most High? Why? Because when the demons leave him, I want you to imagine you are in a rooming house with 1,000 people living inside your head. All day long, they're chattering in your head, they're shouting at you, they're speaking to you. When you're lonely, you lie down in the tombs and you're without clothing and without home. It's the demons, the legion of demons who are your company. When the legion of demons is absent, what happens? Absolute silence. A scary thing. It's a scary thing not to have the things of this world. It's a scary thing not to pursue the things of this world. What am I going to do with my time? It's like I'm suddenly put into a place of retirement. It's suddenly that I'm put on a bed of illness. What am I going to do with my time and with my energy? I had a friend who, when I visited her, she was a church member of mine, and she had difficulties, many difficulties. And I went to visit her at home. I walked in, pastoral visit, and we sat in the living room. TV was on. The television was on, close to full blast, as we were sitting in the living room. I had to say to her, do you mind taking it down? She took the thing and brought it down 2 notches. I could hardly hear her. I was shouting over her. Then I suddenly realized it wasn't a TV that was in the room only. There was a radio on in her bedroom. And the bedroom radio was up high. And I said, there's a radio in there. Yeah, I'll keep that on. And then there's another noise. Because before I walked in, she walked in the kitchen and she turned on the vacuum cleaner. So the vacuum cleaner was on in the kitchen, the radio was on in the bedroom, and the TV was on in the living room as I was trying to have a conversation with her. And I noticed there was a pattern. Probably you would notice that there's a pattern. And I asked her, why do you do this? Why the TV and the radio and the vacuum cleaner? And she says, oh, Pastor, I always do this because I hate the silence. When I walk into my house and there's silence, I hear things that I shouldn't. And that's when I know why God brought me there. You know, I think that we are in a place in our hearts, in our minds, whereby seeking God is so fearful to us. Because in times when we have to pray, we can't focus. When we ask God to inhabit our hearts and our minds by the Holy Spirit, something within us cries out and says, what have you to do with me, O Son of the Most High? There's a battle within us that we cannot begin even to imagine. And it's about time for us to say, wait a minute, who is more powerful? The things of this world, the things of Satan, or the things of God? To push out all those other noises and to listen to who God is and what He wants for you, to desire Him more than anything else, anyone else. That word beg is a very interesting word because it occurs 3 times in this particular passage in the English. Begging Him, begged Him, to beg. But it actually occurs twice 4 times I would say in this passage. It occurs twice in one word and twice in another in the Greek. It's hidden in there because that word beg is to implore, is to get on your knees and plead with. Please don't do this because I hate the silence that might come over my heart. He pleaded with Jesus to leave him, not to interrupt his life. And some of us, I hope, as we come into the new year, your plea will be a different one. That you come before God and His Son Jesus Christ and you beg Him, Lord Jesus, come into the space of my life. Take over the places, the noises I don't want to hear, the places I don't want to be, the schedule that keeps filling out. I have no way to actually extricate myself from that schedule. The energies that I don't have, I come home every week, every day of the week, and I'm so tired. I hate being tired, so tired for the things of this world, Lord. I want you to rule my life. I pray that we will be people who beg differently. Not to say, what are you to do with me, Son of the Most High, but I want more to do with you, Jesus, than anything else. May we go through the first part of the year begging Jesus to be part of our heart and part of our lives. Jesus said to him, what is your name? And this demon identified itself with many, many creatures within him called legion, for we are many. The legion of things that are within us that pull us away from God occupy our hearts and our minds. It's about time for us at the at the opening of our new decade, of our new year, to say to God, I desire you more than anything else. Even though this world pulls me away, I will not listen to it. It's not just a New Year's resolution. You know how New Year's resolutions are broken? When first we don't desire who Jesus is more than anything else. But the second thing is when we don't have a company of believers who bring us along, who walk with us, who call us to a place of the deeper life. And these demons begged him, second time it occurs, not to command them to depart into the abyss. That word beg is a different word. In the Greek, it's the word parakleos. Parakleos is basically this. It's to beg in terms of a lawyer to a judge, giving good reasons why you should not do this to me. Giving reasoning and trying to implore you through argument. That's the word beg, parakleos. And what these demons do is that they do not identify their weakness, but they think that they have a way to persuade Jesus not to cast them out into the abyss. Just a quick movement away from that. You remember the word abyss. Where did it occur? Which part of Scripture? The book of Revelation. This indicates the third group of demons. The first group of demons that fell from heaven, one third of the demons who fell from heaven, a group of them are free to roam the heavens and the earth. Another group of demons was so wicked, they were imprisoned within the abyss. The third group of demons are those who have possessed things and individuals who are now cast out and they end up in the same place as the second group of demons into the abyss. It's a place of imprisonment for demonic powers. And we read from the book of Revelation, towards the end of days, that a key shall be given to an angel, and that abyss shall be opened, and every evil and vile thing that lives within the prison called the abyss will come out on the last day. These demons realize something, that if they were to be cast out of this man, they would have nowhere else to go because Jesus would send them into prison, into the abyss. And that they don't want to do. So they pleaded with Jesus. They said, hey, listen, we are here. Remember, we weren't that bad, you know? That's probably the word beg. We weren't that bad as the second group of demons, you know? So don't send us in the abyss. In fact, let us, you see those pigs over there? Let us go into, now some of us may have questions about these kind of things. How is it that if they be cast out this person and they have to go to the abyss, why did they kill the pigs rather than stay in them? Wouldn't they just go in the abyss as well? Anyone? They don't. Because when they cause death to an individual or a creature, they are now free to roam, to take possession of something else. So there's a legion of demons who have possessed this whole herd of pigs, caused them to run down a cliff into the water, drown themselves, and now they are free to possess other people and other things. Perhaps in Garada. Perhaps another place. Maybe down in Jerusalem. Maybe in all the regions of Judea. Maybe here in Canada. Maybe here in Toronto. The demons that are at loose are many. And what they pleaded with Jesus, say, don't let us depart into the abyss. Their request was this: we want to be free to roam the earth, the skies, and the air, and to take possession of something else. Surprisingly, Jesus allows them to do that. Surprisingly, he shows compassion even to demons. That he allows them not to be cast into the abyss, but into the place which is another group of living creatures, the pigs. And when the herdsmen saw what had happened, we come to the fourth group of people. The fourth group of people, the first group of persons, the two individuals, or the one who is in focus, who is possessed by demons. The second group, those who live in Gerasenes. The third person, Jesus himself. And the fourth, the herdsman. I want you to imagine yourself as herdsman. You're looking after these pigs. All of a sudden, the guy whom you saw there, you've seen every day, nobody wants to interact with him, is now free of demons, and your pigs have gone crazy. You've never seen them so crazy. They ran into the water and they killed themselves against their own instincts. Pigs, by the way, are quite intelligent creatures. I don't know if you know this. Pigs are very intelligent creatures. They might be big, they might look snouty, they might be dirty, but they are pretty smart creatures. Sounds like a lot of human beings. But they went stir crazy and they ran into the water, and you as a herdsman who know your pigs, you see that, how would you feel? What would you do? Would you run to the individual who has done this and say, I want to know who you are. I want to know Jesus. Instead, what was their reaction? They fled. They ran in the other direction. They ran away from the things of God into the city, and they began to tell the city what's happened. And now, group 1 meets group 4. Then the people went out to see, the people from the city went out to see what happened, and they came to Jesus and found the man. They found the man whom had the demons had gone out, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. What an imagination of a thing that would blow your mind. An individual who has never worn clothes, an individual who has never had a home, living amongst the tombs because you break shackles, break chains, run into the desert place, lived among the tombs, he's clothed and in his right mind. What would you do? Would you seek him? Would you say, I want to know who Jesus is? Would you be like Zacchaeus? Would you climb up a tree to see Jesus passing by so you might have just one glimpse of him? Would you be like the woman with the issue of blood who fights her way through the crowd in order to touch the hem of his garment? Would you be as the individual who is begging at the gate of Jericho, who cries out and to Jesus as he passes by, and you're not known by any other name but Bartimaeus, the son of dishonor, that you will cry out to him, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy upon me. Would you do that? Or would you run in the other direction? Oh no, the pastor is talking about things again. Okay, I got it. I need to draw close to God, but through this week, I'm going to flee from him. I'm going to run away from the things of God. Or would we come to him and say, Lord, I beg of you, Son of the Most High, live in my heart, live in my life. Possess everything that I have. It's all yours. None of the things which I hung on to were dear, but you are the one who controls it all. You have given it to me all, and I will not use anything in my life that will draw me away from you again. Would that be us in 2020? Because the attitude of these groups of individuals, whether it's the herdsmen or the people in the city, was this. When they saw the man who had the demons clothed and in his right mind, what happened to them? They were afraid. What a reaction. I would not have understood that if I didn't read what the gospel writers, every single one of them, the 3 gospel writers, not John doesn't tell the story, but the 3 synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all record this. They were afraid. Not only were they afraid, they asked Jesus to get out of town. Listen. Then the people were afraid. Then all the people of the surrounding country of Gerasenes asked him to depart from them. In other words, don't stay here. We're rather a demoniac with 1,000 demons, whom we are all afraid of, than a man in his right mind sitting amongst us. Why? It's because of Jesus. Because if Jesus is able to set this one free, then he has the power to turn your life around. He has the power to defeat Satan's work where he is in your life. We are a people who are so enamored by power. The power of this world, the power of money, the power of everything. But how are we going to behave when we grasp the power of Jesus? Are we going to be as the people of Gerasenes, imploring, begging? That's the word, to beg him to leave. That's to the people of the surrounding country ask him to depart. The word to beg is to plead with him to depart out of the land. Would we be individuals who want to presence Jesus in our home? That plaque that we set into our apartment, our condo, our home, when we moved in our house, when we moved in, the Lord is the head of this household. Is he? Is he truly? Make a fresh promise to God that that plaque is true. That he is the head of this household. That he is the one who rules in this home and none else belongs here. The sad part of it, he got in his boat and he returned to the other side of the lake, of the Sea of Galilee. But watch what happens to the man who now in his right mind. Remember, he was afraid of the silence. All of a sudden, everything is gone. And he returns back to who he is as an individual, but now with one thing, and that he desires God more than anything else. Watch what he says to Jesus. He said to Jesus, then the man from whom the demons had gone begged him, pleaded with him, implored him, said, please, Lord. The same beg as the very first time. That's how I knew it was the man speaking. He begged him that he might be with him. In other words, I don't ever want Jesus out of my home. I don't want Jesus anywhere else but right close to me. And then Jesus sent him away saying, here's your mission. Once you understand the deeper life in Jesus, then you can exercise the overflowing life. Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. It's very interesting, by the way, if you know Jewish culture. Because this man is not Jewish. Because in the Jewish culture, when a man has been healed of something, the first place that he goes to is the temple. They present themselves to the temple. Because there, the priest is able to say, clean again. Why the temple? Because God commanded it. When you're clean, you go back to the place where the community of Jesus is, and they declare you clean. And you're in this community of believers in Christ. This individual is a Gentile. There were no temples to go back to. There is no synagogue to return to. Where does he ask him to go back to? Anyone? Home. Why? Because that's where your witness is the most. Where your influence has been given to you the most. And some of you may not be necessarily home because they are believers. Maybe it's your workplace. Maybe it's a place where you have been called to be. In wherever you are, Jesus says to you, desire the deeper life. 2020, make that plaque true. The plaque is, God is the head of this household. Let it be true. But once you have begun to desire him all the more, Jesus says this, go, return home, and tell them what God has done. Declare to them. The word declare, by the way, is the word preach. To speak out loud, to announce to everyone, to declare how much God has done for you. Not just what, but how much. May we be a people who will pursue not only that which God calls us to in a minimal basis. Maybe attend church when I feel like it. But to pursue God ever the more, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To be able to say within our hearts, there is no one who occupies that space but Jesus himself. And may we be able to resist the power of this world that calls us in a different direction, that seeks to bind us with shackles and chains, and then abandon us to our desert places. Let's stand.